Hey everybody, my name is Kendall and I'm with Alaska's News Source, and we are here called, our podcast is called Active in Alaska, and I have a wonderful guest here, Miss Jackson, and I just want to learn a little bit more about what you're doing and how you help the community. And so, Miss Jackson, please tell everyone what you do and how you help people get active.
Thank you. It's good to be here. My name is Gail Jackson. I'm the owner and founder of Creative Rhythms. And Creative Rhythms brings people together through sound, movement, and mindfulness. So the sound, I'm a drum circle facilitator.
Okay.
I'm a global drum circle facilitator, so I can train people to become drum circle facilitators. I bring community together through drumming and rhythm-based events. So we have drums and percussion instruments. I facilitate specific populations, Alzheimer's, caregivers, Parkinson's, also team building for corporations as well as stress management. Coming together with the drums and percussion. And a big thing that I hear is, I don't have any rhythm. We all have rhythm. We're conditioned that we don't, because we are conditioned that rhythm only looks like rhythm in certain people. And if I don't look like that, I don't have rhythm.
Right.
And through the drum circle, we speak in rhythm. We were developed in our mother's womb listening to her heartbeat, that rhythm.
That's a good point.
And we also walk in rhythm. And in the circle, it's a slowing down to connect with ourselves as well as in community through the instruments. The instruments are our voice. The drum circle is a conversation. So we're having a conversation with the instruments that speak to us, because sometimes drums are overwhelming for folks. So I have percussion instruments, so they'll pick up a shaker, a triangle, or a wood block. And close to midway or at the end, they have a drum. They're smiling. Their whole energy has changed. And where the movement comes in, so we're moving our upper bodies. And depending on the focus of the project, the program, we will get up and move around. If you picture in your mind like the conga line, getting up, moving around the circle.
Nice.
When I've done artistry, was a resident in the school, artist of residency in the schools. The kids are in the circle, the students are in the circle, and we're driving down the road. So we're leaning to the side when we're going around a curve. We're jumping up in the chair when we're going over a bump.
Oh, wow.
And so we're moving, and also bringing in other items for movement, such as scarves and different items such as that. So to engage colorful items and going and moving with the music. And where the sound comes in, I'm also a sound practitioner. I'm a 2-time Rasmussen Foundation Artist Awardee.
Oh, wow.
And my specialty is gongs. So gongs are my medium. And with that, I facilitate community sound baths / sound meditations. And I have the gongs, I have other ambient instruments where I invite people to allow their ears to be their eyes. And that's a famous quote from Pauline Oliveras, who pioneered deep listening.
Okay.
And so on that journey, I take folks for an hour to an hour and a half long journey where they come into the studio. They lay on the mats. I have 0 gravity chairs now for more comfortability for folks. And at the end of that hour, I hear, we just started. And if you picture in your mind a rope that's moving,
Okay.
with the gongs, that rope is slowly, slowly, slowly stopping. And that rope is the mind going, going, going. And with the vibrations of the gongs and the other ambient instruments, it slows the mind down. Not completely, because the mind does what it does. it gives folks a time where they're at rest. A lot of people fall asleep because that is the only time that they do have to rest.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's everyone experiences something different because they're experiencing that sound bath, that sound meditation through their own lived life experience.
Wow, that's amazing. So, the burning question I have right now is, how did you get into it? I mean, I love origin stories. I love hearing, where you first got inspired to, getting your first drum, and then kind of progressing into where you are now. So give us kind of a rundown. How did you get into this?
Well, before I started going to school, I would go to church with my grandmother. She was in the Pentecostal movement, so going in the morning, falling asleep, listening to the music, and staying practically the whole day. And my cousin would play the bongos and listening to the music. And so as I had gotten older, I would kind of play around with different instruments. I tried the guitar, didn't work for me. I was in band playing the snare drum, never learned how to read music.
Oh, okay.
And then when I graduated college, I got back into the church again. And then when I moved to Alaska, I was at a spiritual center. I was in the choir. And I got the pull. The music was pulling me so much more. So one of the people that was in the band at the time told me about a master drummer called Edwina Tyler, who is no longer with us. And she played the djembe. So I went home, Googled her, and found that she was going to be at a drumming camp in California. So I went that summer, and I felt so welcome. They had different drumming genres. They had bata drumming from Cuba. They had, shakerays. They had djembes, congas. They had all different kinds of drumming. And the teachers were very welcoming. They were open to sharing. And it was a very powerful connecting experience for me. And I couldn't wait to go back the next year. So I went back the next year, experienced the same thing. And the one Sunday that I was going to find Edwina, I could not find her class, but everybody was talking about her class. And so the very last day of camp, I found her class. And in the class, later on in the class, I heard like strange sounds. And I was looking around, there were people in the class crying. And that's when I experienced looking the power of the drum. And I went back again the next year. And so at the time, I was becoming a licensed spiritual practitioner, uplifting and supporting people in their spiritual journey. And during my panels, one of the ministers did a workshop on what's your life's purpose. So during that meditation process, it came to me that I could become a drum circle facilitator. So I did it for a year to see if it was something that I wanted to do. And it was something that I wanted to do. So again, I Googled drum circle facilitation. I found Village Music Circles. Arthur Hall is the founder.
Okay.
And it was held in Hawaii on the North Shore. So I went, and again, another life-changing experience for me. Very welcoming. We played at night under tiki torches, under the stars, a few feet away from the ocean. And the circle was magic. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Nice.
And I met people from all over the world. And through drumming, I have more of a connection with myself, knowing that I didn't learn how to read music when I was in elementary school. And the music that I do know coming from me fits in community.
Right.
And so what I facilitate is something you don't have to have any experience. It's open to all ages, and everyone is welcome. You hear stories about how someone said something and immediately that person was shut down. In the drumming circles that I facilitate, everyone is welcome, even if they just do a few shakes on the shaker or little dings on the triangle. It's welcomed. They're experiencing their spirit, how it comes up for them.
Awesome.
And it's a beautiful experience.
Wow. So then you said you moved here in Alaska, right? And then how did you get to, I guess, the stage of the sound and everything? So, I mean, I love the story about going down to Hawaii and getting those experiences because I've had life-changing experiences that have kind of directed me on a new path in life, and I know how powerful that is. Getting here, and I mean, did you see a need? I know that you had a passion for it, but kind of fill in the gaps for me. How did you go from going and checking out, knowing that this is what you wanted to do, and then now implementing a plan of being able to set up circles? How did you go about doing that? And what was that part of the journey?
Okay, so excuse me, with the drum circle facilitation, a lot of the facilitators are on their second, third careers. So
Okay.
we have in my drum circle facilitation family, there are many, it's really enriched. So I can tap a lot of my colleagues. How did you work with kids with this?
Oh,
How
okay.
did this happen? How explain to me this or that? And I also do a lot of professional development to keep myself fresh, to bring fresh things to the community. So going to drum circle facilitation guild conferences, going to Hawaii. I haven't gone in a couple years, and learning different things to bring to community. And how it got started, I started at my spiritual center, a place where you can try something and it'd be okay. You're in a loving environment. So I started there, and then word kind of gotten out, and I started doing a few team building, a few workshops on stress management, and that's how the word got out. And with the sound, my mentor Arthur Hall at the Drum Circle Facilitators Guild Conference does a workshop called Rhythm Church.
Okay.
And so Rhythm Church is where he designed these chimes. So you have chimes, there's wood blocks that keep time or shakers that keep time. And he has this orchestration that he does. And at the end of that Rhythm Church, I felt so full. And so for me, I felt that planted the seed for sound for me. I went to visit a friend a few years ago in St. Louis, and she said we were going to a sound bath. And so I thought to myself, okay, what is a sound bath? I'd never heard of that in Anchorage, so what is that?
Well, and that's the part I was interested in because I got the drum circle part, but yeah, so the sound bath, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, so she said we were going to go, so okay, I'm open to going. And so we started, it was held in a yoga studio. We started doing all these stretching and all of this, and I'm thinking, what have I got myself into? And so she said, all right, go ahead and get yourselves comfortable. So I laid back, and then it was the first strike of the gong. I was like, what is that? And oh my goodness, there are old cartoons where someone baked a pie and they set it in the windowsill and you see the wafer of the smell catching somebody, and that's how the gong was for me.
I like
first
that.
tap, I was just so totally sucked in.
Wow.
And at the end of the session, I went up to the facilitator. I said, well, where'd you get your training? I got all the information I can get from her. And then I Googled the Crown of Eternity was the group that she had taken her training from. So I Googled them, and that was in spring. That fall, I was in Asheville, North Carolina, in a little yellow house on a gravel lot that was a yoga studio, and that's where I had my first sound training. And that was with Mike Tamburo, who travels all over the U.S., East Coast, West Coast, back from West Coast to East Coast, playing, and he also does workshops. And I've learned so much from him. He has been a strong instrument in my life, and I went to Italy not last year, but the year before, to study more sound, and this year I'll be going to France to study more sound to deepen my practice.
Wow.
As well as what I bring to community.
That's huge. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back. I got some more questions for you, and I'm kind of learning about this sound thing. I feel like there's a lot of value in that. So we'll be right back. Thank you. All right, we're back. This is Kendall with Active in Alaska, and I'm here with Miss Gail Jackson. And so we're talking about sound, and we're talking about movement and how they all work together. Maybe like what are some cool things that you learned along the way as far as movement and sound and how it can help the body and heal? And I mean, I'm sure there's elements of that.
Yes. So during COVID, I had taken a social justice course with Reverend Angel. And also I had taken a 6-month book study on the book My Grandmother's Hands with Resmaa Menakem.
Okay.
Well, with a Buddhist twist to it.
Okay.
So the book is by him, but it was facilitated by Cara Jewel Lingo. And in My Grandmother's Hands, there are exercises. And with My Grandmother's Hands, it talks about race. So when you talk about race, there's a big charge with race.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you regulate yourself so that when that big charge, that big wave comes at you, that you're not knocked over, that you can move with it and still be grounded. So in that, he has where you can hum.
Okay.
To regulate yourself.
Interesting.
There's movement that happens where you can also regulate yourself, swinging, moving, swaying side to side, front to back. He has where you can rub your hands together.
Okay.
And in there, he also talks about drumming. And all of these exercise, he calls them practices. All of these practices bring regulation to the body.
Oh, that's good.
In that book, I can't remember the author's name, but The Body Keeps the Score.
Okay.
All the activation that happens in our lives is held in the body. So how do we release it?
Right.
Well, dogs have a natural way where they just shake it out.
When they get excited?
Yeah. Or else, little something that takes them off kilter, they shake it out to get themselves grounded again. And for us to, as human beings, to move, to regulate ourselves is very important.
Yeah.
We have watches now that tell us it's time to stand. We are made to move, and in today's society, we sit more, we move less.
Yeah.
Or we're doing the exercises where we reach a goal. And it's not really reaching a goal, it's bringing and incorporating movement to be a natural thing that we do, like eating or drinking water. And the movement of releasing all of that, like drumming, releasing all the stress, releasing the anxiety, a way to release that is something that doesn't hurt the body. And you do it in community, which is very important, to do these exercises in community, because we can get co-regulated with community rather than being by ourselves. Healing happens in community.
See, that's a really good point because, I play the drums at church, and when we practice, there's one thing, but then when we're in our community setting and we're actually in a set and playing in front of the church, having their participation, having their energy, seeing them move and sway, it really locks us in even more. And there was a couple times. So last night I'm drumming and I have a Congo player, and there were times where we had a nice beat going, and the guitar and everything went out, and we were just sitting there, and he was going and I'm right there, and it was a moment. It felt good. It felt. I'm trying to describe, but it was a peace, but it was also like, let's keep going, And I think that there is, because drumming and moving are easy to do compared to, let's say, if I say, hey, go lift 400 pounds, but you can grab a counter and, as a kid, I used to always do that. I'd be in the lunchroom and I'd sit there and start coming up with a beat and people start joking and laughing. So that kind of gets me to a point of, if someone's looking to get into this, if they want to take the first steps, what would you recommend, to kind of incorporate drumming, movement, health? Like, what would you recommend them doing?
They can come to one of my drum circles. So I do a first Saturday of the month at Mountain View Library from 3 to 4:30, and this is on my website, creativerhythms.org. And I also do a second Friday drumming circle from 7 to 8:30.
Okay.
And they can come to the drumming circle. And also there is Remo Drum Company, who I am an endorsed facilitator through. They have a drum called the Buffalo drum. So they can, or you can get an indigenous drum, which whatever speaks to you and also speaks to your pocketbook or
Right.
your wallet.
Right.
Or your pocket. I'll just put it that way. Whatever speaks to you, a drum. And you can play the drum beat of your heart. And from there, you can play the drum of your heart racing. And then you can move around with the drum. You can walk with the drum. You can, whatever comes to you to move with that beat of the drum, you can do.
Right. And then what's a good time frame to spend kind of, because I can see it being centering. I never looked at it like that. I just liked the drums and I was kind of good at it as far as picking it up. I tried the guitar. I tried all the other things. I wanted to play the guitar. I'm seeing people doing all this cool stuff. But my passion didn't fit my drive, if that makes sense. But the drums kind of came naturally to me. And I want to get better at it. And I don't do a good job of practicing. So what would you recommend a time frame? You know, maybe starting off at like 10 minutes a day, or, you know, what would be your thoughts on how often, and, you know, someone starting out, here's a good measure to say, okay, maybe 5 minutes a day, take some time aside to get into a rhythmic vibe. And then, that kind of rhymed.
Very
you know,
good.
And then kind of progressing from there. So what are your thoughts on that?
I would say to do what works for you, what works in your schedule, to pick up the drum to play. If 5 minutes fits in your schedule, then 5 minutes it is.
Okay.
10 minutes. And on YouTube University, there are a lot of beginning drumming rhythms.
True.
So if you don't know, if something is not coming to you naturally, YouTube University, beginning rhythm hand drumming.
Okay.
And there you go.
And then, you know, I got kids and they like to chill. This generation is all about hanging out inside, and not to say all of them, don't get me wrong, but with technology, when I grew up, we didn't have all the things. You know, we had, you know, Nintendo and a couple things, but after a while you get bored and you got to go outside and hang out with your friends. If you're a parent trying to get your kid to get up and get active, and, you know, you see most kids got some kind of musical prowess, whether it's, you know, everyone likes some kind of music, right? From classical to whatever, and they all have rhythm. You know, how would you encourage parents to get their kids moving?
I would encourage them to start as soon as you can.
Okay.
To plant that seed of movement, to plant that seed of musicality in your child. Even if it's edgy for you that you're uncomfortable with, then you can grow into that with your child. We live in a beautiful state.
Yeah.
Not too far from the national parks. Going out, getting sticks, making it a nature adventure, getting sticks and clicking the sticks together. There's rocks, picking up rocks, singing, clicking, and bringing the sticks and the rocks together, or tapping your hand on a tree trunk, creating different sounds to match, maybe down by a stream, to match the brook, the water rippling over the water, or a strong current matching that, or accentuating it. It doesn't have to match it.
Right.
That's one way to start.
That's huge. So then you said, so how long have you been in Alaska with your business?
I have been here in Alaska for 24 years. No, 25 now.
Okay.
25.
Wow.
And my business, I've been doing this for around 18 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you working mostly with children, adults, seniors?
I work with everyone.
Nice.
I've, like I said, artist in residency in
Okay.
elementary schools. I've been on base, work with military and their families, and also with a squadron. I also see women. I've gone out to Highland Mountain, work with the women there. corporations, done some team building for different organizations. One of the
See, I really like that. I think that there is a hidden gem because as you know, I work on a team and we all have our different walks of life and we come from different areas, and I think there's a cool element to pull it together and get on a rhythm. Like I never even thought about that as because you know you go out and do like the potato bag.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? There's all kinds of ways that you can do some team icebreakers. But how cool would it be to bring some drums in and everyone pick a drum and sit down and just have a good time? Like I
Yes.
think that's so cool.
Yeah, and there's no hierarchy in the drumming
Right.
circle.
Yeah.
Everyone is on the same level.
I like that. Yeah.
And to have the boss there with even the person that delivers the mail, everyone has a part that they play. The drumming circle is like a wheel on a bicycle.
Okay.
All the spokes connect to that bigger wheel,
Right.
and every spoke has an important part that they play. Just like in the drumming circle, everyone has an important part.
I got a tough question for you. How do you deal with someone who's really not proactive, excited to play the drums, but their rhythm's a little off? Okay, because it does. I mean, even I was listening to a song and they wanted me to do some things, and I heard it, but when it came to actually pulling it off, I just didn't have it. I need to hear it more time, you know. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stick with the basic beat for now instead of trying to get too fancy with it, right? And I'm just thinking, you know, if you got a big circle and everyone is kind of in a good vibe and one person's a little off, you know, how do you deal with that?
Well, there's a few ways to do that. I can facilitate it, Simon Says. So I'll play a rhythm and invite the group to play a rhythm.
I like that. Okay.
So that is one way to do it.
Okay.
And also, instead of doing the drums, go to the percussion instrument because then it changes the conversation altogether.
So then, because I just see this person who's like, everyone's on beat and the one person's off, right? But I like the concept of Simon Says. I think that makes sense because then you can get some call to action and then maybe changing the instrument. Do you run in that often?
I've had it happen a few times.
Okay.
And like I said, it's not shutting that person down
Right.
because their voice is important in the circle. And also sometimes it's working with it because in life, not everything is going to be in rhythm. It's not going to be okay. And okay, they're off. That's part of life. We'll work with it.
Okay. Well, I got one quick question that's a little off topic, but I'm just curious about Alaska. You know, we live in one of the beautifulest states to me in the world. You know, I lived in Montana for 10 years. I've lived in Georgia. I've lived, you know, a couple of different places. I used to like Vegas until I got here, you know.
Okay.
So why Alaska? I mean, that's...
I had some friends ask me if I would want to go to Alaska. And at the time, it worked. I thought I had my dream job working for the Federal Bureau of Prisons where I can just transfer to different institutions. And after collegiately playing basketball, nothing but a sprained ankle, I was playing in a recreational league and ended up breaking my leg.
Oh, no.
So the job with the Federal Bureau of Prisons went away, and then I ended up going back to my previous job, and the invitation came at the right time. So been there, done that, it was time to go. And I say, and I share with folks that I was born and raised in New Jersey, and I was reborn in Alaska.
I like
because
that.
this is where I found my passion.
Dang,
this is
that's good.
where I connect. This is where I have found that I can bring community together as well as be a part of different communities.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, like that little clip right there. Ooh, reborn in Alaska. I like that. And I feel the same way. You know, living in Montana, it was a big eye-opener for me, and I didn't know that kind of community existed. And then when I came here, I saw the same type of community but with more opportunity. And there's a spiritual element to Alaska that I didn't expect. In Montana, what I found was that everyone, because everything is kind of good, for lack of a better term, there wasn't as much desire and seeking for spirituality. because everyone kind of has their nice thing. Their houses are good. Everything is. It's kind of like a little nice retirement community, and I loved it. It was one of the best times I had. But then when I came here, I found a way more spiritual community, from Russian Orthodox to, I mean, I couldn't believe all of the different people who were seeking their version of God. And so that was a really interesting part of the puzzle to me. And so when you said that, I'm like, reborn, that's a really cool way to think. And I do feel like this is more of a home than, I'm from D.C., born and raised. And I got kids in Jersey, so over in Cherry Hill, I don't know what part of.
Yeah, my family, they live in Manchester and Jackson.
Okay.
So not far.
Yeah. So, and I've been there, you can't do U-turns and you can't pump your own gas and all that. It's a whole different environment.
Yeah.
And I feel like people are more aggravated. And I mean, we do have some fast drivers out here. Don't get me wrong. But it's a whole different vibe. So if people want to find out more about you, more about where they can, your drum circles, your business, if they want to book an appointment to bring you into their offices, where can they find your information?
My information is on my website,
Okay.
creativerhythms.org.
Okay.
And Creative Rhythms is one word.
Okay. And then do you have like a Facebook page, YouTube page?
I have thank you. Facebook page is Creative Rhythms, which is linked to my Instagram page.
Okay. And then any last thoughts that you want to share with people, something that that you learned along the way that might be beneficial for someone who, has been sitting for a while and wanting to take that next step, ready. They're like, gosh, I've been procrastinating long enough. I need to do something. You got any last thoughts that you'd like to share?
Taking that first step. And it doesn't have to be a big step going over a big hurdle. Taking that step one step at a time.
Right.
And connecting with people that are moving to the same vibe that you're moving, or they're moving higher.
Okay.
Because you want to be in relation with folks that are having a good positive mindset, a good centering, and that's very important. And not someone that is kind of going off the handle and really don't have practices in place. So having some practices where you can ground yourself, someone that fans your flame, so to speak, in a very good way.
Right. Yeah, so this is Kendall with Active in Alaska. This has been an amazing podcast. Thank you so much, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. And stay active.